when it comes to dropping pounds, it is very easy to point a finger at saying, hey, it's the insulin's fault. Hey, the GLP-1s aren't working. Hey, I'm doing everything right. And I'm not eating much and I'm moving more and nothing's happening. And slow down. It can feel like a challenge. And I want to dispel anything. I want to say insulin's not the problem here. It is not the problem at all. Insulin is a mediator. It is on the pathway to weight gain or preventing you from dropping weight. But it is not the problem here. And I can say this again, because number one, as evidenced by a few minutes ago, I've gotten leaner this year. The scale has gone down for me, and I'm obviously an N of 1, but we have worked with thousands of people at this point, and hundreds on hundreds of them have wanted to lose weight, and they have had success. So it is not the insulin. Again, if insulin were the problem, and it was like, oh, if you're on insulin, you're not going to be able to drop pounds, then everyone with diabetes would just keep gaining weight forever and ever for perpetuity, and we'd all be obese.
Coach, and I've lived myself with type 1 diabetes for over 20 years, and I am here to share everything that I have learned in both my personal and professional experience so you can live that incredible diabetes life. So get ready and let's dive right into today's episode.
What is going on? Welcome to this episode of the Your Diabetes Insider Podcast, where today I want to challenge you on something that you may not be thinking about right now when it comes to your diabetes, but also beyond just your diabetes and your blood sugars. And then I want to go into something that is related directly to that because, of course, that's what we do here is we educate, we challenge, and we make your blood sugars better one episode and one tidbit at a time. So the thing I want to challenge you with right now is we are just over halfway through this year, which is kind of absolutely insane if you think about it. Like, it's literally over the halfway point. We have just had halftime of 2025, and this year's been something else, to say it lightly. But what I can also say is that is a time where I would challenge you, and many people don't do this. I would say maybe 5 to 10% of people do this max. I want to challenge you to reflect on the first half of this year so far. I want to challenge you to sit down with your thoughts on your own. You can journal it out, you can write it out, you can speak it, whatever you need to do. I like talking to myself when I'm in the car because I'm weird. I don't know. But what I would love to challenge you to do is reflect on what the year has looked like so far from a blood sugar standpoint and health standpoint overall, from a professional standpoint, social standpoint, whatever standpoint you want to do. But of course, here we're going to focus on the blood sugars. And then I want to ask you, because a lot of people set New Year's resolutions, how has your New Year's resolution gone so far? What did you set out to do back in the end of December, early January, that you said, I am going to do this in 2025 come hell or high water, and that you may or may not have actually done? And I know the stats for just 2 or 3 weeks after New Year's resolutions are pretty damning. The halfway point in the year, they've got to be way worse. Like, I'm talking probably less than 0.5% of people that have actually stuck to what they wanted to do from the outset, because it can seem really hard, right? It can seem really daunting, and you don't have to have necessarily accomplished everything, right? You could say, hey, I wanted to drop 28 pounds and I wanted to lower my A1C from 8.5 to 6.5. You might not be all the way there yet, and that's okay. But on the flip side, I want you to ask yourself, what did I set out to do at the start of this year? And then second, have I done it, or am I on the way to doing it? Yes or no? And then number 3, if I haven't done it, or if I haven't said, hey, I'm on the way to doing it and I've made some progress, etc., what could I be doing a little bit differently to make the rest of this year have a different ending? And I say this because, you hear about it all the time around New Year's where, oh yeah, everything's amazing, everything's awesome, everything's great, and I'm going to do this big old audacious goal. And then I set it and I start up, and then something inevitably knocks me off my path, right? I get sick. We go on a vacation. Your kid has something going on and it throws you out of loop for a couple days. Whatever it might be. God forbid you have an injury, right? There can be a million different things that can throw you out of whack. And I want you to truly sit down and say, okay, did I reach this or did I not? Or am I on the way to reaching this? And if I am, amazing, what can I do to continue staying on this path? Which that's the ideal, but I would imagine out of the people listening to this, maybe a handful are in that situation, maybe a few more than a handful because you're a little more motivated because you are listening to this. And then on the flip side, if you're not, okay, what went wrong? Where did I fall off track? And how can I dial in and get better? And so, I can go first, right? As an easy example for you, and this will actually feed in to what the target was that I want to talk about for the majority of this episode, because I feel like reflecting is a really big deal and nobody talks about it, whether you're in diabetes or not. It just feels like it's not discussed enough. And especially when it comes to the blood sugars, right? I talk about it all the time. Hey, peep your numbers periodically. Take a look at what's going on so you don't have a surprise when you go get your A1C drawn. You're like, oh my goodness, why is my A1C 0.5% higher? Well, you probably would have seen it coming if you were able to stop and identify a little bit sooner. And so that's where I would challenge you to say, before I get into the example of what I'm going to say that I did or did not do for this year so far, but that is the situation of, hey, how can I evaluate sooner so I'm not at the halfway point saying, what do I need to change? I could be evaluating this way earlier and saying, oh, I fell off track. It's been a week. Let me figure out how to get back on the horse. But prime example for this, absolute prime example of this with me, with my health personally, right? My target, one of them had been, I want to, ready for it, drum roll, I want to get a little bit leaner so I can ultimately do a photo shoot, right? Because I've done them a bunch in the past. It's stuff that I enjoy doing. I think periodically it's good to also keep myself accountable to say, hey, I need to show up. I need to be ready to go. I need to be at my, top performance, pushing in my workouts, giving 100%, really dialing in on my nutrition to ensure that's where it needs to be. And then, of course, blood sugars, that's a given, right? And quite honestly, I was supposed to do a shoot way back. I think it was in like April, March, something like that. And the stars did not align. Things got too wild. It just did not happen. It fell off my radar entirely. So at that point, you could say, okay, you're one of those people where it did not happen. However, I tentatively, knock on wood, have one scheduled for the end of the week when you see this episode coming, right? So here's what I was able to do. And this is what I'm trying to really instill is I reflected a little bit sooner than the halfway point. And I realized it was about 2 months ago. And I realized, I said, you know what? I'm doing okay. Like I feel like I'm kind of going through the motions a little bit. I'm doing my nutrition pretty well. I work in the field, right? I have to do something. I have diabetes. I want to make sure my numbers are good. I got to do something. But I'm like, I feel like I'm doing okay. Probably given, an 8 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. I work out, same type of thing. But who's to say I couldn't just dial it up just a teeny little bit more so I can really get into a place where I am ready for that shoot. But then second, also just so I can feel better. So my numbers are better. So I'm in range more often. So my body feels better. So I'm nourishing my body in a better situation. And that right there was enough for me to say, okay, I need to actually stick to this and commit. And we had some crazy stress over the past couple of months. And despite that, because I had that North Star, because I had that guidepost saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is when I'm setting a date to do it. I need to be ready to roll. That is why I've been able to right the ship and arguably could say towards that goal, hey, I haven't achieved it yet. I haven't actually done the event. But on the flip side, I've been able to say I went from complete fail to, hey, I'm almost there because I was able to dial in and able to say, hey, let me take this effort from 7.5 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 and raise it up closer to a 9.5 or a 10 out of 10. And sometimes you just need a little bit of an extra kick in the butt or a little bit extra of, like a fire under your butt or someone saying, hey, this is here. This is what needs to happen to keep you going and keep you focused on what your target is. And again, that's one of the reasons why people love working with our team is because we get it. We understand the diabetes side of it. We understand the nutrition side of it. We understand the activity side of it. And we can be here to say, hey, what's up? What about that target you set that, last week about getting your blood sugars better after lunch because you're dosing on time? And have you been dosing on time? If not, let's figure out what's going on so we can fix it. And sometimes having that external person is so critical to making sure you are successful. So what I want you to do, and as I get into the jokingly second half of the episode, but what I want you to do is evaluate, say, what goal did I set? Did I actually achieve this goal? And if I didn't, what can I do to make it happen? What have I not done to make it happen? And what can I do to actually make it happen now? Knowing what has already happened this year and using that data to improve. Because if you go about it the same way you started in January or February or whenever you started, it's not going to matter. You're not going to end up getting there. The same thing is going to happen. Insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. In this case, it's going to be, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to approach it slightly differently. Maybe I'm going to get that accountability. Maybe I'm going to get that dietitian in my corner who understands the diabetes side and can help keep me on track and assess and give me updates, etc. We would be happy to be a part of your journey. Message me on Instagram or TikTok, Man of Zeal, MANOFTZEEL, or go to yourdiabetesinsider.com and, contact me that way if you want some support with that. But I really want to challenge you to do that with whatever your goal was, health related, family related, whatever it may be. Now, the second part of this, and this is related to it because like I said, Part of this was my, getting leaner journey, but also a major goal that a lot of people set. I don't know the percentages and the stats for how many people set this goal, but at the beginning of the year, everybody's goal is, I want to drop pounds. I want to drop weight. I want to drop some sort of weight and make that happen. And most people, they'll do something for a week or two and they'll say, oh, I don't really like it. Or, oh, I didn't get my Ozempic or my Manjaro and I'm not happy about that. Like first of all, the GLP-1s, which I can do a rant on that later, they're not going to do it all on their own for you. Can already tell you that with certainty, for better or for worse. Love you, respect you. They're not going to do everything for you. They'll help you. They'll help facilitate it. They'll help you springboard it, but they're not going to take you the entire duration of the journey. You have to still do the underlying work on the nutrition and the activity side. And of course, blood sugar management. But when it comes to dropping pounds, it is very easy to point a finger at saying, hey, it's the insulin's fault. Hey, the GLP-1s aren't working. Hey, I'm doing everything right. I'm not eating much and I'm moving more and nothing's happening. And slow down. It can feel like a challenge. And I want to dispel anything. I want to say insulin's not the problem here. It is not the problem at all. Insulin is a mediator. It is on the pathway to weight gain or preventing you from dropping weight. But it is not the problem here. And I can say this again, because number one, as evidenced by a few minutes ago, I've gotten leaner this year. The scale has gone down for me, and I'm obviously an N of 1, but we have worked with thousands of people at this point, and hundreds on hundreds of them have wanted to lose weight, and they have had success. So it is not the insulin. Again, if insulin were the problem, and it was like, oh, if you're on insulin, you're not going to be able to drop pounds, then everyone with diabetes would just keep gaining weight forever and ever for perpetuity, and we'd all be obese. And it's not the reality. It's not possible. It's not physically possible. And I'm not going to say, oh, it's just the calorie deficit, because it's not just the calorie deficit. The calorie deficit's a huge portion of it, right? You have a big old pie graph, calorie deficit's probably 50 to 60% of it, because that has to be a chunk of it. Yes, there's a hormonal component, but don't blame it on that either, right? It has to come down to a couple things, right? Number one, is your metabolism in a place to safely and sustainably drop weight? If you tell me for the last 2 years you've been yo-yo dieting and some days you eat 1,200 calories, some days you eat 800 calories, and some days you eat, 2,800 calories, your body doesn't know what in tarnation's going on. It doesn't have any sense of normal. It doesn't have any sense of baseline of nutrition intake because you're all over the place. So you've got to be a little more steady and consistent. And people don't like to hear that answer all the time, but I'm here to, help with what the possible reasons are, right? It has to be bigger than just that. If your metabolism is not in a place to safely and sustainably drop weight, you're just not going to. That's the end of the story, because your body's going to be like, oh, he's eating 1,500 calories a day on average. I'm not, but he's eating that much on average. Well, if he drops, that's what I'm used to getting. That's what I'm going to burn. Why would I burn more? It's silly. And then your choices become, you're going to drop to 1,000, because that starts to become medically really scary, and very not good things like organ failure can happen, right? We don't want that. So it has to be, is your metabolism in a place to safely and sustainably drop weight? And if not, you've got to be able to rebuild that. We probably have helped 80% of our patients coming through to do that, because they're just not having enough, because they've always been told less food, activity more, less food. It ends up really destroying metabolism over time. So that has to be one thing out of the gate that has to be addressed, right? Another thing is, so if you're, calorie wise, you have to be on that. If you're having a ton of lows, you go into a deficit, your body is literally saying, well, I'm used to eating, I'm going to put up fake numbers, right? Used to eating 2,500 a day. You're only giving me 2,000 a day. Well, where do I get the rest of it from? And so then it's all the sugar in the blood sounds convenient as I'm recovering at night. And now you've got a low blood sugar at 3 a.m. And then there's a propensity for eating more than you're supposed to. And then, oh no, now I just ate a ton. What am I supposed to do? Now my deficit's gone. Now I'm not dropping any weight. Now I'm frustrated, because it all cascades. You have to have adjustments with your care team on the med side, right? Type 1 or type 2, because you have too much, metformin, or you have too much of one of the other drugs that are out there, right? Your Jardiance is too high, whatever it is, too high. Suddenly you're in a situation where your blood sugars could be falling off a cliff because you are also in a deficit. So you have to keep in mind, Jardiance not be a good example, but you get the idea. The dose is too high of whatever you're taking. It's not going to do you any favors unless it is titrated to adjust with that. But you have to make sure you have a plan with your care team about that, or it's not going to matter. And I say this with all of the love in the world, because I want you, if you want to drop pounds, I want you to be successful. But I also don't want you feeling like you're banging your head against the wall watching nothing happen, except for you getting more and more frustrated because nothing seems to be working. There's usually a reason. There's typically a reason. It's very rare that there is not a reason. And then everybody's running, oh, I want to just use Ozempic. There's a lot of people that use Ozempic that see nothing because they don't end up in a deficit. They're already not eating. There was one patient I can think of in particular. Oh, I'm eating 1,100 calories a day and I'm on Ozempic and nothing's happening. Yeah, because you're not in a deficit, because you're barely eating to begin with. It's not a good situation to be in. And so that's why I always tell people, don't rush to the meds. They're not going to necessarily help you all that much. Get the underlying work done first. I've seen GLP-1s do amazing things. One patient lost 140 pounds and has kept it off for 2 years, which is amazing. Another patient down over 100 pounds, kept it off so far, going to continue dropping. Another patient down over 50, amazing. But they have all of the nutrition infrastructure set. They have their blood sugar set. They have their activity set. It's not an accident that the people that have the best success are the ones that do the underlying work, which leads me back to the beginning, right? If you've set that target, if you've set that goal, whatever you set in January 1st, if you did not reach it, why did you not reach it? If it was weight loss, were you falling off track? Are you paying attention to what you're putting in your body? You know, you might not be as much as you could be. Are you paying attention to fat and protein when it comes to your dosing? Are you paying attention to making adjustments when you do go into a calorie deficit under the supervision of your care team? These are all things you have to be asking yourself because they're all very real things. And they're all imperative if you want to have success in the weight loss arena as a person living with diabetes. It's not the insulin's fault. It's not the medication's fault. At the end of the day, it has to be related to what you are doing on the input side. And yes, periodically there's going to be an exception to every rule where your hormones are messed up or something crazy happens, right? Or you don't exercise for 6 months because God forbid something happens, you're not able to, you're working extra, or, you have to take your kids somewhere, whatever it is, right? There's always going to be an exception to the rule. But on the flip side, the majority of people, it's going to come down to, is that infrastructure set for you to be successful? If it's not, how can you make that infrastructure better? Evaluate how the year went. It's a lot easier to look back at the year in the middle of the year, and there's only 6 months to go over, than it is to look at the end of the year and be like, wow, I have to go over the last 12 months. I have to see what happened, what I prioritized, what I didn't. And my biggest thing too for you is don't try to overcomplicate it. Don't be like, oh my goodness, I need to do all these different things. Now here's 18 steps I could. No, just keep it simple, keep it straightforward. Pick your 1 or 2 little things that you're going to commit to doing and build on it. I talk about that all the time. It's one of my favorite concepts. Take your one thing and build on it. Look at my situation, right? I was there, but I was kind of, going through some of the motions, dogging it a little bit, not necessarily being as focused as I could be. Suddenly I turned it on. I got more focused because I had that external accountability factor. And I was like, well, I need to show up and show out. So I started getting my stuff together. It's the same thing with you, right? If you're like, hey, I haven't been able to do it completely as I have been on my own, it just hasn't been successful. That is what a good care team that actually cares will do, is provide that external accountability to make sure that you are going to reach the thresholds you want to, whether it's blood sugars, whether it's weight goals, whether it's physique goals, performance, whatever it might be. And like I said, my team and I are here to help with that. We're all dietitians. We get it. We have tons of experience in the diabetes arena, personally, professionally, etc. And we've got exercise backgrounds. So we've got your back. So if you want that support, message me on social media @manofzeal. Go to the website, yourdivetisinsider.com. Go there, contact me. We'll chat. We'll make sure that you're in a good situation so you can thrive, because 2025 is only halfway done, but there is still half of the story yet to write. You are going to have success as long as you are willing to make it happen. Can't do it for you, right? I'd love to do it for you, but I can't do it for you. As long as you want to write the rest of the story and be like, you know what, at the halfway point, it was my turning point, and I just turned on the jets and bam, I nailed this. And by the end of the year, I was in the best blood sugar situation and best weight situation of my life. I would love nothing more than to hear that. So let me know, what was your goal? Did you reach it? And what's your new goal going to be for the rest of this year? I cannot wait to hear about it. If you're loving the pod, drop us a 5-star on Spotify, Apple, wherever you are listening. I appreciate you, and I will catch you in the next.
Hope you're ready for the next episode. Hey.